Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down how Peru just engineered one of Latin America's most exciting new digital markets. Seriously, they've taken what was a legal gray area for online gambling and turned it into this regulated, high-stakes gold rush.
And the numbers? They are absolutely staggering. I mean, look at this. By the end of 2025, we're talking about a market projected to pull in over $350 million in gross gaming revenue. That is a huge number, especially when you remember this market basically just got its official rulebook a couple of years ago.
So the big question is, how on earth did they pull this off? How do you go from a legal gray area to a full-blown regulated gold rush? Well, this wasn't some accident. It didn't happen overnight. It was all part of a very deliberate, very strategic plan. Okay, let's dive in and see how they did it.
All right, so to really understand the opportunity that's on the table today, you've got to look at the journey Peru took to get here. You see, for a long time, online betting was a thing, but it wasn't officially regulated. And that created this kind of risky environment for everybody involved, both the players and the companies.
And this timeline really shows you just how methodical they were. This wasn't some sudden decision. I mean, look at this. They started way back in 1979 by legalizing casinos. Then, in 99, they tackled slot machines. They were building this foundation piece by piece for decades. And all that experience, all that learning, it all led up to the big one, the 2022 law that made online betting official, and then the full nationwide rollout we're seeing happen right now in 2024.
Okay, so you've got this formal market now. That means you need some referees, right? Some rule makers. And in Peru, there are 3 key government bodies that are now running the show. For any company looking to get into this market, knowing who these players are is, well, it's absolutely crucial.
First up, we have Minsatur. That's the Ministry of Foreign Trade and Tourism. These guys are the head honchos, the main authority. Think of them as the ultimate gatekeeper. They're the ones who grant the licenses, deciding who gets in, and they make sure everyone is playing by the rules, down to the very last letter.
Next, you've got SUNAT. This is the National Tax Authority. And their job, well, it's pretty straightforward, but incredibly important. Make sure the country gets its slice of the pie from this booming industry. They're the ones enforcing the tax laws and making sure all the money is accounted for.
And finally, we have UIF Peru, the Financial Intelligence Unit. You can think of these guys as the watchdog. Their entire mission is to keep the market clean, to fight against things like money laundering or any other shady financial activity. Operators have to report anything that looks suspicious directly to them.
So if you're an operator and you're looking at this thinking, okay, I want a piece of this action, what are the actual rules of the game? What do you have to do to operate in Peru? Let's break it down.
Okay, the first thing, the number that has caught everyone's attention across the entire global industry is this, 12%. This is the headline tax rate, and believe me, it is a total game changer.
And to be specific, that's a 12% tax on an operator's net winnings. So you take all the money from bets, subtract all the prizes you pay out to winners, and that's what you get taxed on. This is a huge deal because it's a structure that's really favorable for operators. It basically rewards them for being efficient and attracting a lot of players.
But you know, it's not just about the taxes. There are some really strict rules you have to follow on the ground. For one, you can't just run your business from another country. Nope. You need a physical office and a legal representative right there in Peru. Plus, all your websites have to use a special .bet.pe domain so everyone knows you're a legit licensed operator. And maybe most importantly, you have to give the regulators real-time access to your systems for total transparency. So for any business, right, getting into a new market is always a calculated bet. You have to weigh the pros and the cons. So let's really look at that trade-off here, the massive opportunity versus the very real obligations that come with it.
And this really lays it all out. The bet versus the buy-in. On the one side, you have these incredible advantages. Huge growth potential, a clear set of rules, and a tax system that's built for success. But the other side of the coin is the buy-in. It requires a serious commitment. We're talking a mandatory local presence, super strict technical oversight, and constant financial scrutiny. It's definitely a high-reward situation, but you better believe it comes with high responsibility.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. What does this really mean? Not just for Peru, but for the entire Latin American region, because this is where the story gets a whole lot bigger than just one country's new laws.
You know, this quote from an industry analysis just hits the nail on the head.
It says, the market is structured enough to provide confidence, yet open enough to reward early movers. And that's it. That's the sweet spot Peru has found. They've created a secure, confident environment that still has this massive upside for growth.
So, by putting this all together, Peru hasn't just built a new market for itself. What they've really done is create a potential blueprint for the entire region. This is a clear, structured model that other Latin American countries can now look at and say, okay, that's how you do it right.
And that really leaves us with one final fascinating thought, doesn't it? As all of its neighbors are watching this unfold, you have to wonder, is this regulated gold rush in Peru going to become the new standard? Is this the future for digital markets all across Latin America? Well, that is the big question, and we'll definitely be watching to see what happens.